He's one of the leaders and founder member of the coalition Stop the War in Great Britain. Born in the beginning of the year 2000 to oppose the war in Iraq, he is part of those who, with the campaign for nuclear disarmament and solidarity with Palestine, has been organizing for several months demonstrations of 100,000 people taking place in London to demand the ceasefire, stop the genocide, and an embargo on armament going to Israel. Fighting the British government relentlessly, convinced internationalist. He was one of those who had the idea of this meeting, and he's going to be the one to close it. Please welcome John Rees.
Thank you. And I bring to you the solidarity greetings of the Stop the War Coalition in Great Britain. Next Saturday, we will organise our 32nd national demonstration in solidarity with Palestine. We expect there to be hundreds of thousands of people on the streets of London next Saturday, as there have been in every previous demonstration. But I also promise you this: we are not satisfied with the numbers. We do not think that we have done as well as we could, because 71% of the population of Britain, millions of people, are in solidarity with the Palestinians, while only 12% of the population are in sympathy with the Israeli government. So although millions have marched, we believe that millions more are still to be involved, and that they are as sympathetic to the Palestinians, as outraged by the genocide as those who have already taken to the streets. And so we are going back to the communities, back to the trade unions, back to the churches, back to the mosques, back to the synagogues, and saying, now is the time to march. If you haven't marched yet, come out onto the streets. And I want to speak a little bit about why so many people, so many working people in my country, so many working people the globe over, are taking action in support of the Palestinians. It is not because they are Palestinians. They are not Palestinians. It is not because they are Jewish, and because they want to demonstrate that they are not in favour of the Israeli state, although many of them do that as well. No, most of them have no connection with the Middle East. They are simply ordinary working people in my country. And the reason they demonstrate is because when they see a starving child, they sympathise with the child and not with the person starving them. When they see a boy standing against a tank, they sympathise with the boy and not with the tank. And when they see a boot on somebody's neck, they sympathise with the person on the floor and not the soldier wearing the boot. And they do so because they recognise in the fate of the Palestinians something of their own lives. They know that the governments that support Israel are the governments that hold them down. There was a British Prime Minister, Boris Johnson, and not so long ago he said this. He said, "Let the bodies pile high." But he wasn't talking about Palestinians, although he might have been. He was talking about his own citizens during the COVID pandemic, when his government allowed 170,000 deaths in Britain because he couldn't take the action to stop the pandemic. And I'll tell you this, somebody who will do that to their own citizens will, of course, stand by and watch the genocide of the Palestinians. And that is why the enemies of the Palestinians are our enemies, and why, in the end of the day, we are all Palestinians. But we need to take stock of where we are, because this movement is enormous and it is still growing. How long is it since any militant could stand on a platform like this and say we have seen 3, 4 general strikes in Europe in the past 2 weeks? How long is it since that was true? But with every great moment of a movement like this, there is also great danger, because we know from one end of Europe to the other, the alarm bell is ringing, because rearmament and war are the intention of our governments, and they are driven on by the fascist international headed by Donald Trump. We are in a moment of great opportunity, but also a moment of great danger. And to meet that danger, we have to deepen the movement. And my Italian comrade is absolutely right to say that the crucial development is that the working class, the organized working class, is now entering the line of battle, and that is a decisive change. And so must internationalism be. With my comrades, with Jérôme and Stéphane, we planned this event months ago. And we planned it on a model. I was one of the people that organized the demonstrations against the Iraq war, including the demonstration of the 15th of February 2003, which is the largest demonstration in British political history, and the largest combined global demonstration ever, which began when the sun rose on Australia, and in city after city, and in every continent on the globe. It did not end until the sun went down on the west coast of America. We need that again. We need that moment again. And so no matter what the right wing say, no matter what the right-wing populists and the fascists say, no matter what they say, that we don't love our country or we are traitors to our country. These are people, by the way, who say they love their country, but they never ploughed a field or sowed a seed or harvested a crop or built a road. They aren't the bricklayers that made the buildings. They aren't the stonemasons that built the cathedrals. That was working people. That was working class people that did all that. So I say, I only have one country. My country is the working class, no matter where it is. And my mission is internationalism. Because when they say chauvinism, I say internationalism. When they say patriotism, I say internationalism. And I'm not a religious person, although I think it's the duty of every socialist to defend the right of religious people to worship in freedom how they want to, without state repression, without being blamed for the ills of the world. But if I were a religious person, there is somewhere that I would regard as holy ground. I would regard the Communard Wall in Père Lachaise Cemetery as holy ground, because that is where the dream of the first Workers' Republic the first society where people came before profit, where politicians were the servants of their people, not their bosses. That is holy ground. That is still the prospect before us. That is still the aim of this movement. So I commend to you some simple lessons. Deepen the movement. Specifically, deepen it towards the organised working class. And hurry, because time is short. I invite you back to the second Congress of this organisation in London next year. We have already booked the hall. And I'll tell you where it is. Central Hall, Westminster, is right in the heart of Westminster. And when you walk out the front door, you will see Big Ben and the Palace of Westminster right in front of you. And I want to see Scandinavian socialists, French trade unionists, Italian dockers on the green in front of the Nelson Mandela statue, right in front of Keir Starmer's home. And I want to take the message that austerity and war are not the policy of the working class. So come to London. Come to London next June, and I guarantee that we will match the warm welcome that we have received these days in Paris. So I do believe we are on the crest of a working class renewal. And on the crest of every wave, you can look forward and see a future that you could only have imagined before. But you can also look back and see the crests of previous waves of working class insurgency. And I want to leave you with a thought from the last great revolt of 1968. A friend of mine, Tariq Ali, who led the Vietnam War campaign in Britain, in that year, he founded a new left paper. And on its front page, it carried this message: London, Paris, Rome, Berlin, we will fight and we will win. Thank you very much.